Chaos Reign. Chaos Reign presents Cashless Society. Are you ready? With my special guest, Linell from the Black Brain Trust. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And like always, please enjoy.
Good evening. Good evening. What's good, everybody? This is Chaos Reign here. Today, it's going to be a very important subject matter, something to discuss, and some that will be very much boring to give people a heads up now. And, I know it's not really culture or it's very much suitable or even to the point it's not really wise to really say that your stream will be boring typically. But in regards to the times we're in now, it's getting very serious. Personally, it is so serious that how can I say this? If it does happen in the next few months or so, or around the end of this year, my biggest question is: are you really prepared? I mean, me at that time, I better been prepared than nothing. But nonetheless, I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak for anybody else. But are you, as a person, as an American, ready for what is already here and what is going to continue to happen? But before I go and give you the title of today's stream, I would like everybody to subscribe to the Chaos Reign Show. When you subscribe to the Chaos Reign Show, make sure you hit the red button and the top notification bell for uploads and the live streams on the Chaos Reign Show. Also, follow me on Twitter at Chaos Reign 7. And what else? Chaos Reign 7. Oh, and add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Reign on Facebook. Also, join my Rumble page or my Rumble channel, C Reign 23. I will put that in this description in the chat room right now for y'all to start migrating for more, rugged conversation. As long as Rumble doesn't get to a point like YouTube. Some content, once I get to a certain followers, I will be going live and going a little bit more hardcore per se. So please follow me on Rumble as well. Link will be in the description and in the chat room as well. Also, if I can recall, join my Discord service on as well. I think those are the what they call social media links you can follow Chaos Reign Show. Oh, another thing. Your boy Chaos Reign is now monetized on YouTube. Yes, that means I have Super Chat. All the stuff that, for those, if you like and respect and hope to see somewhat more of an outcome and a growth off the Chaos Reign Show, please throw some buckets, coins, dollar bills, whatever is suitable. And this will help not only myself, but also the channel itself and direction, the content where I'm hoping to take it and actually grow to put into other things. With your helpful donation, it will make things hopefully possible. And I know this with a lot of people that do get support. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. A lot of them don't really invest back into their content. But unlike me, if I get the support needed, I will probably invest as much as possible to make the quality much better. God willing. So I'm monetized on YouTube now, for those that don't know. So, and those know, they know now. What else I'm trying to think of? That's pretty much it. I don't have nothing else. Oh, and I'd like to thank Tyron Thompson because he's one that got this thing really started from the get-go. It's been, I would say, 4 years in the journey doing content on YouTube, especially, And I didn't think I was going to come to this point because it's such a long, stressful job just to put in content night day in, night out, certain days, uploads, live streams. It's not an easy task, but nonetheless, I love and I like what I do, so I put in the time necessary to make the channel what it is today. So, anyway, that is pretty much it. So now, the subject at hand. As you know, this is Chaos Rain Show presents the Cashless Society. Are you ready? And I have a special guest, one of my good friend on Discord, and once I think one part of the Black Brain Trust. I like to return the one and only Mr. Linell. So, Linell, you there?
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm good. So, what's good, Linell? If you want to tell people a little bit about yourself, the floor is yours.
Oh well, it's just simple. One of the founders of the Black Brain Trust. Nowadays I read. Well, I just my field is finance. I'm a technical analyst, Elliott Wave theory, and that's the main thing I spend my time on is the economy and finance.
And Lionel, you have a background, like a degree in finance per se?
No, I don't have. I don't have a degree in finance. I don't have a classical 4-year degree in finance.
Okay.
My background is just technical analysis. My study, like I said, is Elliott Wave theory, and with that, I use to through technical analysis, I use that to look at the economy.
Okay, so you're more research. Okay, good. I mean, that's even just as good because usually one of the few things you don't understand right now, to really invest anything, you got to put in time and hours to really study and understand where the direction to go in regards where the money is going, you know, how it's structured, how it's flow. And I think one thing people don't understand, I'm not sure if you're from Chicago, a particular brother that has background in finance, I think he has 1 or 2 degrees on it, that when he told me about money, one thing he directed me was a particular PDF, and I probably tell you, you might know, but it's called Modern Money Mechanics. It's a Chicago PDF that deals with the central banks of Chicago in regards to how money is created, how it's used, how to use it, etc. It's a very good read. It's like, I think, 50 pages. I did share it out for a few years. I stopped, because, I was doing other things. But usually I bought the actual book of it, but it's a good book for any person over the age of 18 especially. If they don't understand how money really actually functions while it's still physically in our hands, it is a good read to get a glimpse of how the banking system works. One thing, because on the subject at hand, and one thing I'll read some to those, and then it might add some context, just a little bit, because as you know, as I'm following social media, and I should look at some articles, but as I was talking about, money and how directional money is going, because we're eventually going to start using physical currency and it's going to be complete digital, I came across a particular IG, what do you call it, IG page. Let me see if I can find it. Where is my, I had it here. And as you might be familiar with the CBDC, central bank.
Bank digital currency.
Yeah, go ahead.
CBDC, central bank digital currency.
Well, one particular, I don't know if he's a governor or mayor of some parts of Florida, and I should have did background, but this was the post. One, it said, breaking, Florida's governor officially bans CBDC in the states. We want to protect your financial independence and your financial privacy. Now, as you know, they probably might talk briefly about this for other news outlets, maybe, or they're keeping it quiet, like obviously they want to give attention to people because some people might start to take reactions. But overall, the because cryptocurrency has really emerged in 2009, which really is the end of 2008, going to 2009. It makes me ask a serious question, and I'm not sure if you can answer this. Was this always in the works before the end of the first 2000s of start creating what we call digitalized currency, Linell?
Well, in terms of cryptocurrency aspect of digital currencies as a whole, Bitcoin came about in 2008, 2009, but people don't know that before Bitcoin, there were previous iterations of a cryptocurrency that failed. And I don't know how far it goes back, but it goes back a few decades. I'll start in the 90s. There were previous iterations of a cryptocurrency, of a crypto that failed. And what Bitcoin did was took aspects of those failed projects that actually worked and melded them all. Well, the people or the person that created Bitcoin, and melded them all together and created something that we all know now, which is Bitcoin. And thus, crypto was finally able to survive in the cryptocurrency. As far as the government side of a digital currency, we can track that back to, I want to say the first credit card was the Diners Club card back in the 50s or the 60s. And that was the first iteration of a public use of digitized currency. And as the years went by, then you had Visa, Discovery, you have now MasterCard, American Express, and so on and so on and so on. And a few years ago, I read this paper from, I think it was MIT School of Business, and they were just saying that currently now, that people are making purchases of items that are cheaper and cheaper. Well, let me not say cheaper and cheaper, but lower in cost on their credit card. So where yesteryears or yesterdecades, if someone wants to make a purchase on their credit card, then that purchase would more than likely cost, it'd be a big price tag. It'll cost more than $100 or $200. Nowadays, it's common for people to go in a gas station or 7-Eleven and buy a burrito that costs $2 on a credit card. You know, these smaller and smaller transactional costs, $1 here, $1 there. So now, as the public is getting used to using plastic is a digital form of currency. So they're getting used to using plastic, because also there is a protective barrier when using a credit card opposed to your debit card. Now you have scanners, debit card scanners, credit card scanners, where you slash your card and pay for your gas, or somewhere at a store, someone then put a card skimmer on top of the device. So now, if you use your debit card, your bank debit card, it's hard to prove to your bank that, hey, that transaction wasn't me. I didn't make that transaction. Opposed to a credit card service, they are in your corner where you call them up and say, hey, these number of transactions wasn't me. So now people are seeing that there is a plus to using a credit card form of digital currency. So now I'll say people are getting and have been getting more and more comfortable with a digital form of currency.
It's interesting you mentioned the credit card, because usually how the credit bureau or credit card in general works is anybody can rent your credit card, and like anything, you have to eventually pay back within, I think, 30 days. So let's say someone stole information on your credit card. I'm not sure people won't know until they get the actual bill, and that's where it becomes problematic. But this is now Linell because we're now more shifting to the more digital side of things, where there's high-speed computers, quantum computers now got to be involved and all stuff. That is it really now even more effective and more well protected now if we go this route completely now at the stage of technology is now?
As far as now, it is. As time goes, yes, you're going to have people that figure out ways to get around, but you got to look at the other side of that. It's not a one-lane road. It's always a two-lane road. So, yes, you're going to have people that figure out a way to get around or beat the system. That's the one lane. The second lane is, well, people are just going to patch those holes up and try to one-up those people that try to get around. So it's always a back and forth, and that back and forth just travels through time. So, yeah, it's going to have pitfalls, but that those pitfalls are not massive potholes or massive chasms that make it untrustworthy to use a digital form of currency. And when I say a digital form of currency, I'm specifically speaking about credit cards or debit cards.
Oh, for those that want to call.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Continue. I don't want to interrupt you. So you pause. Continue.
And with the supercomputers, you mentioned the name of it. The
quantum computers.
Yeah, the quantum computers. That's the one lane, but the other lane is quantum cryptography. So there's always
interesting. I don't know if you want to go into that. I don't think everybody heard about cryptocurrency in forms of wallets, but no one had never known there's a quantum crypto. I don't know if you can go in a little detail of that.
Well, not a quantum crypto, but a quantum cryptography. So cryptography is just basically a hard way of protecting your digital something that's digital. With Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, computers try to figure out cryptographic number and blah, blah, blah. So with quantum computers, one of the arguments people make as to why cryptocurrency is doomed, and I'm not here to say yay or nay if cryptocurrency is doomed. One of the arguments they say is, well, you have the supercomputers that are not supercomputers, but supercomputers and quantum computers are two different things. You have these quantum computers that can crack a crypto wallet, and that's true.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's tantamount to using a supercomputer to crack a quantum computer to crack a game of computer code. There's quantum computers can perform. Quantum computers can perform operations on a level that's a supercomputer can't. So, but there's also quantum cryptography that will battle against a person using a quantum computer to crack your information. So there's always, I'll say all that to say, there's always two lanes to a road. It's not always one way. Well, you got this, so therefore that's over with. No, there's always a back and forth.
Interesting. For those that want to call in to ask y'all questions, the call number or the call link is 717-908-1834. The access code is 917-324#. I repeat, 717-908-1834. Access code 917-324#. Today's subject, as you know, is Chaos Rain Show presents Cashless Society. Are you ready? And, with quantum and more high-tech, faster computers in a way where it does calculations in seconds and mathematical equations very quickly, that the fear is out there, but I think we still have a long way to go for people to really concern about the quantum side of things because, as you know, I think it takes a lot of big facilities with excellent cooling factors, especially some that below
Yes.
zero, to run these type of high speed computers. That's my check.
Yeah. You have to have special, not I won't say special, but certain equipment in order to run a quantum computer successfully for a very long time.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Yeah. So I tell people that don't expect to own one of them anytime soon because, like I said,
Right.
it takes a lot. And not saying no person that's an engineer or someone that will create something really fast in the near future, but to have some in your palm of your hand, whether a laptop or whatever, that's going to take a long time because, like I said, those chips, especially, they can't handle things that's intense heat. CPUs, and especially to really mathematically read at a accelerate, But besides that, and I don't want to go too off that because I'm only not well knowledge, but this is what my mind moves in a certain way when I deal with technology. Another thing, with this thing with the cashless list this, that they are talking about now and pushing. My thing is this: it's really because we have such high in the debt ceiling in regards to America with the total debt that are we really, really running out of money, or we just don't have it all along? And now the jig is up for the American people. Now that
Well, it's not,
go ahead.
it's not that we're running out of money. There's no hard level of, oh, there's only X amount of dollars in existence, and once you reach that limit, there can no longer be any more dollars printed because the society that we live in a credit / debt-based society where dollars come into existence via credit. When someone goes and takes out a loan or uses a credit card through that process of a debt, then credit is made via the central banks via banks that introduces new money into the money supply. That's the M2. They're called the M2 money supply. You also have M1, M2, M3, M4. I think it goes up to M6, if I'm not mistaken. But the M2 money supply it's the main thing that's causing inflation because there's a lot of dollars that's circulating around the economy. So we're not going to run out of dollars. So with the digital currency, the version of digital currency people are talking about is a central bank digital currency. And I purposely separated cryptocurrency. I purposely separated the different versions of digital currencies. And one was cryptocurrency, another one was debit / credit cards. But the version of a digital currency that people are talking about is a central bank digital currency. That version of a digital currency is what people are talking about, what people are saying, oh, this is bad or this is good, and giving their arguments throughout social media and the news.
Mm-hmm. And one thing, yeah, I would agree that because we take on debt, it's like there's always going to be some dollars circulating. The one thing people are not really concerned about is with the height of the inflation now, because we no longer can go through a zero interest rate now. I think we've been a decade or a few years behind of keeping things zero since 2008, and now I'm not sure what the percentage now, the interest now, but it's now come to haunt a lot of us here in America, especially.
If with
Yeah.
the interest rate, it's looking at a chart. If let's say someone look at the 10-year yield from 1942 to 1981, interest rates went from, I forgot, I don't know off the top of my head what interest rates were in 1942. Basically a 39-year run. It went from low interest rates to high interest rates. and the high interest rates culminated around what we hear today was the Volcker put. The Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker raising rates to beat out inflation during the late 70s, early 80s. I think the late 70s, early 80s. So from 1981, and all this happened before I was born, before a lot of people was born. So from 1981 to 2020, I believe, rates fell from 16, 17, 18% to near zero, what they call ZIRP, ZIRP, meaning zero interest rate policy. And that 39-year run where rates failed for 39 years, that culminated our entire lifetime. So you can say throughout our lives, from children to teenagers to adults, we only knew of a falling to zero interest rate policy. That's 39 years. Now, and I'm speaking about this from a technical standpoint, now rates are climbing. And from a technical standpoint, I don't think rates are going to zero anytime soon, if not for the rest of our lives. So now we have to position ourselves to a rising interest rate environment, which has its goods and bads.
So since you were born in '81, particularly, that this is something that and I was around that same '80s era too. That I don't know and experience a lot of things until I think it was in my mid 20s, around the end of 2000s, I think. And one thing I noticed, because as I get older and then I start paying more detail with the help of social media and other outlets, that I look at our position as American people, that it can go either or, but is very much intriguing to see how they push us like this is the American people's fault, that why we are where we at. And we look at how systems are really structured without us paying attention to really start to take more of a action motive to what things, let's say, the government is doing. That I think this how things were, how society was already gone before we even see it even happen. Even when, let's say, you heard about the gold standard, and I heard some guy said this concept that he's been on TRS, how they removed the gold standard back in '71, right? That said that's when the death toll of America really started to begin in regards to actual backing of any currency. But when I think about it, why the gold was removed should be asked more bigger question, because let's be honest, Lionel. When the Federal Reserve Bank didn't come into existence here in America till, was it 1913, I believe, that all forms of institutions is a form of control, just to control people, and how you control the side people, you control where the money is, And this is something that
control. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all I'm saying.
I was saying, instead of with money, you don't just control people; you control a country. You control that. You control what that country can buy and cannot buy. You control how successful or how poor that country is. You're not just controlling the people; you're controlling the country. And for that argument that you're saying, you control the people by controlling the country, because what's what I'm looking for here? It's not prudent, or not prudent, but it's too much work to control 350 million people. Or how do I and I'm just making your argument for you. How do I control that many people, and not just in America or any country? How do I control X amount of people in that country? Well, I'm not going to try to control them individually. How about I just control the country in which they live in by forming not in particular, not specifically a Federal Reserve, but a institution that controls their country's currency supply. And by controlling that country's currency supply, I therefore can control how that country operates. And the byproduct of that is, therefore, the byproduct of controlling that country's money supply, I can control the people. You know, I put limits and speed bumps as to what people can do inside that geographical territory.
Yeah, and by doing so, people really, it's like this. Once you control that portion, it's like you're putting somebody on a super severe straitjacket. Now you can't move your arms on any recourse because you're financially bound by the finance of this country. A matter of fact, if you look at when they talk about rich and poor class or classes in general, it's always tied to these institutions. And I know the black branches may talk more about this stuff, but I remember, was it Rael? One of them guys that I don't know if he's not part of that. They always talk about the importance of forming and creating what we call institutions. I don't know if you're familiar with this conversation, right, Linell, right?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, and he talked about Booker T. Washington, a man that builds like institutions, because he built Tuskegee, right, and gives people trade and train people to how to be sufficient. And the reason I'm bringing him up because he was very pivotal back in the late end of 1800s in regards how men and women, especially black men, how they should function in society properly, how to move around. I think Garvey read some work on Booker T and wanted to come here to learn how to build institutions. And I remember reading his memoirs, especially Marcus, especially. And what he learned is one thing to really not only carry legacy, but to really sustain any people is you got to have an institution, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us don't have the proper institutions to really help preserve ourselves enough. So imagine now these people that really run the money system stuff, they know the importance of if I build institution or create a specific institution, you're always going to come back to these institutions because you need something. So institutions are always forever, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but if people think about really structuring societies, the first thing to do for anything else is always try to build an institution. I think it's the best safeguard out of everything else. I don't know if you want to agree or disagree with me, Linell.
Yeah, with those levels of institutions, those they dictate how a group of people dictate/guide how a group of people should function or can function within a society, within a country society. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, another thing that it was heads up that you might be aware of this. Nigeria especially have transitioned completely to a cashless society in regards they don't take or create their own physical currency. They only deal with the digital side completely. You familiar with this? Nigeria. I think it's the first country. Yeah.
That's good for them. Well, a lot of African countries were already dealing with a digital cashless society. You know, M-Pesa. I think that's in Kenya, if I'm not mistaken. They were already dealing with a more cashless society already. It's just the governments went on ahead and, I'm assuming, implemented their own digital currency and said, we're going to operate like this. But the people themselves were already operating on that level.
Mm-hmm. Do you think other African nations and other countries are going to follow suit since Nigeria went and already far ahead of the game to really completely go straight cashless now?
So I'll say this. I want to differentiate cashless societies from a country's economy. And just because
Okay, I
a
like that. I
country
like that.
yeah, just because a country goes cashless does not mean that therefore their economy will do better. No, what they're doing is just going cashless. It's going to be the same type of economy. It's just a cashless economy.
And I'm not familiar with Nigeria, especially 'cause I never travel up there. But I would take it that they have a good enough infrastructure to really function in that type of economy. Am I right? Because normally you have to have good
Um,
um, Wi-Fi. You had a good. Matter of fact, you had to have some satellites because that's going to take a lot of power. If you're going to run through just strictly on that type of economy, things have to be put in order enough.
well, you need a good power grid because I've I've gone to stores in America like a Starbucks and their computers were down and everybody got plastic in their hands ready to pay. So no, very few people, like let's say of 20 people in the line, like 2 or 3 people got just so happen to have some cash in their wallet, in their pocket. But the majority of the people got plastic. They just want to swipe and go. So you need some good a good power grid, and that's on top of clandestine people that may be working for you who want to cut. and I say this because I hear other people talk about this, who want to cut your own business power. So and tell your customers, oh, send it to here or send it to there, so they can get your money. So and those actors are the people that find the loop and try to get over. So the balance of that is okay. Well, let me find a way to stop that. So like I want to point that out because there's always going to be a up and down, a yin and yang, left and right. It's not just up all the time. It's going to be down. It's not down all the time. It's going to be up. So you do need a infrastructure to support that cash success because it's a different type of way of running your economy. It's no longer cash. You have cashless. You need a power grid. You need a good internet connection because if you don't have a good internet connection, what's the purpose of putting your money into this cashless ecosystem if your internet is on some T1 modem type speed? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense because now you bring some other elements to the conversation because I don't really ask and really look into the infrastructure of Nigeria, especially because last time I checked, they're not even on 5G. I think they might be maybe around 4G now because they have cell phones like everybody else. Even I know one country developed their own app for their own cell phone. But when I think about the amount of power it takes, because if your infrastructure is very weak in certain African nations where the power goes off for like hours and eventually come back on, I'm thinking that that's not going to really sustain anything for any nation that's going to go strictly cashless yet.
Right, because in a situation like that, effectively your economy halts. If you're saying, hey, we're going to go cashless, we are now a cashless economy, and you don't have a strong power grid or strong internet grid, if not both, not a strong both of them, and something happens where the power go out for an extended amount of time, your economy halts. Your economy halts, which means the government is not getting revenue from the economy because that's what a government get their money by the economy going, the tax revenue. Your economy halts. That affects the government. That affects businesses. That affects everyday people. Now, everyday people can't get the goods and services they need. Companies and businesses can't sell goods and services that they need to sell to make a profit and to pay their employees. Your economy halts if you don't have the proper infrastructure, and that's one of the things I see that's failed to be talked about the infrastructure, the digital central bank digital currency, or CBD for short. That's the hot item. That's the buzzword of the day now. But you need a infrastructure around that. You need things to work to support that CBDC system in any country that you're speaking about, you know?
Yeah, it concerns me. Yeah, I gotta really take a trip to Africa one of these days. I got to. That personally, because people are more tribal and cultural, depending on which region Africa is, and to let people know, Africa does have cities. Don't be fooled by the West telling you that is a dirt poor in a hut. Don't believe that. They have infrastructure. Hell, the Asians are investing billions of dollars in some parts of Africa and recolonizing to give them proper infrastructure. So people don't understand that this is a nation that is already stepping up to really make this happen. Only one part of Africa, and there's like 53 more countries out of Africa that's divided up that has made that direction yet because the infrastructure is not fully supported for them to go all the way in. So when I see articles or any papers or anything else put out for the internet saying that's a good thing, I have to look and think critically that is a really good thing because last time I checked, in America we're a first world nation just like certain other countries that we do have the proper infrastructure to go fully that. But the problem why we didn't go that route because always got to think of how you're going to play it out. You get me? Because not every person now, last time I checked, still keeps some physical cash. Like I still deal with cash at this point. I have cards, but not much. But I still like to deal with it because for any scenarios, you never know. I remember one time when I was purchasing something, and I noticed that the AT&T, the ATM, or some parts of the registers were down, and people had to either find another form of payment or they can't get their stuff. You get me? But people are so accustomed of just dapping, pay, what they call it, Google Play, all that stuff, that is always going to be a way to go and there's going to be no problem. And don't think about the bigger issues that will happen. We're getting too comfortable at saying, okay, we're transitioning this. This is a good thing. I'm already adapt to it, so it's a good thing to go. I'm saying, is it really? Are you well read about what are the ramifications if they go fully through with this? I always look at the what ifs. See, this really makes sense right now to have it. Then there's eventually say we're just gonna push society into it eventually. I mean that's how my mind works. Go ahead.
Now the pushback that you hear about central bank digital currencies comes from the standpoint that it's from the government, and because it's from the government is now giving you this digital currency. Well, the digital currency is digital, the government and digital, so it can be programmed, it can be easily tracked, it can be. So I even heard people say it can be used as a spy tool. I'm thinking, and I'm guessing because it can be easily tracked, that information can be derived from that tracking that is a form of spying. And people point to China and their social credit score, and from their social credit score, they can block you from purchasing a train or a flight ticket here or there. They can block your financial moves, and because of that, that is the main reason why. That is, if not the main reason, the reason why people are making CBDCs as hot topic. Not because it's a digital currency, not because it's a digital currency. It's a digital currency that's coming from the government. That's the reason why that it's such a hot topic nowadays.
It gives me a way to really thinking about how China controls their society, which is really the dictatorship. Xi Jinping, I think, in regards to social credit store. And it makes me wonder the what ifs happening here in the West. We have roughly almost 304, I think 30 some million Americans. 80% of them are non-black, while the other ones are non-white. The think about the weapons, the guns especially, that this is a really warlike country where a lot of Americans, if we think about it, have out of the population, there's like 400 million guns. You get me? So for them to really go
Yeah.
and strict, go ahead. You about to say-
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. There's gonna be serious pushback. I mean, and I'm saying more than the pushback you see what happened back in January 6th of 2020 or 2021. One of the mirrors. Yeah, next 2021. Yeah, especially that. Yeah, I mean, it was not a good thing to see personally. But overall, like I said, it's different from Asia, especially the social credit score. I'm not really familiar with what that really is. It's like, is it really that severe where there's certain things you do certain things they gonna value and give you credit for your behavior and they will shut you out, especially the financial side out of society? Is it really that debt in China? How they work in regards to controlling people?
Yeah, and with the social credit, I'm not. They're not controlling their people like an Orwellian book where people can. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Brazil with I forgot the guy name, but it's not on that level. But the social credit score does. It depends on the society, but since we're talking about the Chinese society, any society has their own way of perceiving what's a good way to perform and act within that society. And whatever that perception is, if people don't act accordingly, then people will basically snitch on them, and that will decrease their social credit score. This person didn't throw the trash, and this person has a habit of throwing the trash not in the dumpster but around the dumpster, therefore thereby attracting rodents. So within that part of that economy, it could be a town or a mega city or a village. Then that person, if so many people snitch on that person's social credit score would go down. Therefore, thereby not allowing them to move throughout their society as freely as they can if their social credit score was higher. Now, I'm saying all this because China is, to my knowledge, the only country with a social credit score. If the concept of a social credit score were to be applied to another country, then how they apply the social credit score could be markedly differently than how China performs the social credit scores. China is more of a authoritarian country, but if the concept of a social credit score was applied to a more liberal country, you can see that play out differently. So don't get too hung up on the way China is performing a social credit score, because that may not be the only way the concept of a social credit score can play out.
Mm-hmm. The call number for tonight's show, guys, is 717-908-1834. Access code 917324#. Today's stream, Chaos Reign presents Cashless Society. Are you ready? And one thing I noticed, especially here in the West, that a lot of politicians or people that's economists or where branch of government they stand or in general, that I guess they like what China is doing in regards to how they structure their society, and they want to, I guess, replicate or implement or do things what's done over there, and think it should apply everywhere else around the world. And I'm thinking, well, if you're watching how another nation runs a society and you're trying to implement, it's not going to get the same outcomes in the long run. But I see why they revere and they like what that president is doing over there, because they said they have a very much functional society. We look at the people are educated, They're working themselves to death, from what we hear, and there's not really. I'm not sure if there's any actual class system in China. I could be wrong. I need to start doing some deep digging about China in general. But at times here, unlike here, America is more of a capitalist system. They're not socialist and all that. Those big letter words. It's like everything's run through capitalizing on somebody else. So they can't implement something that they do over in China and bring over here. And I heard even rumored that China does both. They are both socialists and they're capitalists. I don't know how that works, but
yeah, they apply the capitalistic rules of running the economy when it suits them, but they are also more socialist. They're more social. They're more of a socialist system than a capitalistic system. You can have both. Like America, we are more of a mixed economy. We're more capitalistic than we're social. We have social programs within a capitalistic system, whereas China has capitalistic programs within a socialistic system. And even in America, we have a form of a social credit score in terms of credit score. If your credit score is low, you're not going to get that big house or McMansion or that Mercedes Benz or BMW if your credit score is too low. And we've been trained throughout generations to understand that hey, get your credit score up so you can do this, do that. So with a social credit score, imagine the your number credit score having more weight. So instead of saying, hey, I got let's say a 500, I don't want to say 500, that seems extremely low. It's like a teenager got a 500 credit score. Let's say I got a 600 credit score, so I can't buy this house that I want or this car that I want, or if I do get a car, I got to pay more because I'm perceived as a credit risk. But let's say because I have that 600 credit score, therefore I can't take as many vacation days as I want. There's more weight that goes along with that credit score. So now instead of that credit score being strictly tied to your financial progress or hampering your financial progress, now that credit score can also dictate how you can move within society. If you can live if you can live near Manhattan now, or you got to live in Long Island. Not to say Long Island bad, I've never been there, but I'm pointing out Manhattan. So now that credit score has a social component put into it, where it can now dictate how smoothly you can move within society.
And a lot of people don't understand, if you keep a really good, healthy credit score, you get a little farther in society, a little bit. I mean, because that's how they view people. With the social credit one is going to be a little bit different, because it deals with not just the credit score, but everything, how you function, like behavior. It's like treating you like you're a child, and someone that's a bigger parent had to sit there, slap you on the wrist if you do something wrong, like if you say bad words or do something uncharacteristic. And personally, I don't think me as a man ready to live in that type of society. Not saying I don't move very bad in society like that, but I don't want the possibility where the system gets that much power to do so to any American like that, because how the psychology of a lot of us here in America function, if they implement here, it's going to be very disastrous, because we are much more criminal / warlike type of country, because this is like the belly of the beast. And if you look at what's out in the media put out, a lot of people are doing violent things, and usually that derives from either social issues, particularly economic issues, or just really they just don't get their way, and they just go out in the world, do criminal acts in regards to draw attention. I mean, especially with mass shootings, all these type of criminal acts that it's always derivative that this is how society functions in regards to dealing with people that might have issues, particularly mental issues or it's like economic issues. These are things that really affects Americans generally. I think mostly economics first, then everything else second, primarily. Because if you're in a capitalist world, someone's always going to find ways to get what's out in your pocket all the day, all time, every day, nonstop. And you always got to be a person, be smart. That if you're not participating in consumption, they don't look at you. I mean, I think one time
Mm-hmm.
with credit, if I think about it, now we have this conversation, that if you're not really consuming and using credit like any form of consumption, they don't really recognize you that you're really functioning in society in regards that you pay your bills or there's something that's not tracking to see that you're making
Mm.
use of the fiat currency. You know, are you
Right.
buying
Yeah,
something? You go. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
you're hindered. If think about it, if you are 18 now and you're just starting out, you're trying to build your life out. Well, if you want a loan, one of the first things younger people get is some type of personal loan or car notes or car loan. So at that point, you don't have a large credit profile. So to get that personal, depending on how much it costs, you get that personal loan, you're not gonna be qualified for say a $50,000 personal loan from the get go. They're going to tell you no. So in that way, you're hindered. You're hindered by how much you can get because you don't have that credit profile. If you want also to get a car, you're going to have to settle for something small and have a lot of years on it. Not to say obviously cars a lot of years are bad, but coming from a young person that may want to swing for the fences, you're going to have to start off with a smaller car before you get to that Audi or R8 or something like that. So that hinders you also.
You gotta start somewhere, man. Like I said, and most people that understand how money works, and I'll tell to all young people, yeah, I was young too, like everybody was dumb and young. I one time got a credit card and I used it all. Didn't know what I was doing. Eventually I was put in into that short little debt. I eventually had to pay off that credit, and eventually was put into purgatory for over a decade. You give it till it starts clean up, you know. But it lets you know that the best way to take advantage of people, especially if people don't understand how credit really works, you take advantage of young people, especially if you don't have parents, maybe mothers, that will use your name for everything just for credit to pay off something and then put it in your credit.
So I have a question for you. What prompted you to specifically talk about digital economy? Now, and a second question is, did you want to talk about specifically the digital economy or the economy at large?
Well, what prompted me in this because I've been not only paying attention to social media, but I've been hearing about this. Some even that said that the money might be done in the first week of July. They might roll out something, and it's somewhat to me. I'll be honest with you, it's cause concern because like me, how I use my money is a little different from everybody else per se. But and I have not really invested in cryptocurrency. I told you this before. Linell in the last broadcast we used to did. I think 2 years ago. But it lets me know so that things are not creeping up because, like I said, I was not really fully invested to really take the risk at the time, and it could hurt me. But at times, it is lessons for myself and anybody else to say, don't fall in the same, I guess, pitfalls if you can to learn as much as possible. So that got me to really think about, having this conversation. Now, in regards to the economy, um, That's another conversation. Matt, repeat the question for the economy, so I give you the answer to the
So
next question.
with the economy, I asked with the. I know the topic of the show is about digital currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Are you asking about digital currencies specifically, or are you asking about digital currencies because of what's going on in the broader economy?
I'm looking at more. My question would be more in regards to the broader economy, to how to really function now. Now, let's say that if we just going like slowly going to the digital side of things, not complete, but that's what they're going to try to push people more towards it. That's what geared me more to that and thinking how to really function now. Because let's be honest, Lionel, I get too many scenarios posts out here that people jumped into the so-called what ifs and the scary scenarios of what's going to happen. This might be doomsday and all this nonsense. Now, I'm not really afraid of doomsday. I'd rather be proactive than being too reactive, in my opinion. So if I don't know something, I'll probably ask, or I'll have to look into some either books or find some information about how to move about. You know what I'm saying? If it's something like if the economy is complete, cashless. You get me? So that's what
Okay.
prompted me to really think about it. And really I put this in the back burner because I've been hearing about it for the last few weeks. But as more information started to surface, I said maybe let me look into this a little bit. You get me? Just to not to react, but to get more clarity or find some answers or even guide me to a better direction. You know what I'm saying? So to really think about this. That's just me. I hope I can answer that question.
To speak on the first point you made about I know you spoke about or you mentioned the economy in terms of the debt ceiling. So what the debt ceiling is, since it's pretty new now, I know a lot of people are hearing more and more about it, and too much about it at the same time, which can cause some confusion. So what the debt limit is basically the credit card limit that America has. Some countries, they run through their credit card sooner within the first few months of the year. Other countries, they run through their credit card later. It takes them longer to run through their credit card. So with the debt limit, a few days, last week maybe, or maybe 2 weeks ago, Janet Yellen, which is Treasury Secretary is Janet Yellen, she mentioned that because of tax receipts being lower this year, meaning all of Americans that are working age that pay taxes, all of those taxes combined that the government receives, they were lower compared to what when I say they, the government expected to receive. And because of that, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, came out and said, hey, because of lower tax receipts, we, America, may run out of money to pay our bills, not our debt, to pay our bills sooner than expected. So now they're trying to raise the debt limit or the credit card limit to continue spending. So what do I mean by pay the bills? The government pay a plethora of things from what they get from tax, from people that pay taxes. Last time this happened, I want to say 2011, 2012, the government shut down, I forgot the name of the museum. I think it was a museum in D.C. Shut down free parks and shut down parks. I think there was Smithsonian. Shut down the Smithsonian, closed this and closed that because they couldn't pay the people or pay to keep it open because no money was coming in. That doesn't. So when the government debt ceiling is not raised and they get the ceiling, that don't mean businesses stop. Businesses are a different thing. The government, a business don't keep going. They're gonna keep paying you. You can keep at it. It's just the government bills, that itself, what the government uses that money to pay for, that is affected. And it's a plethora of things I don't have. I'm not well versed on what the government used the money to pay for. I just remember from 2011 how it affected us in 2011. I think it was the Smithsonian. The country didn't go into chaos. And that was on the heels of the GFC, or the Great Financial Crisis, that the debt ceiling was hit, and the government was the Senate, between the Republicans and the Democrats were arguing about it then, and the country didn't go into severe shock. So that's what they mean. They spent all their money real fast.
Okay. Before I continue with my questions, I have someone that raised their hand, so I'm going to open the first caller. First caller, may I ask who I'm speaking to?
Hey, what's going on, Gary? JNYC.
All right. JNYC?
What's going on?
All right, let's go. And like always, JNYC, at times we're going to be very much with the language as best as possible. But ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think preferred, or it doesn't require this language.
Yeah. And make sure you speak up close to the mic so we can hear you.
All right, so you can hear me?
I hear you good. Go ahead.
All right, so I got two questions, right, or broken into three. So the first question has to do with security. So it's like a two-part question, right? So question number 1 into 2 is, or part 2, is what's going to go on with the security? You said something about Nigeria and certain parts of not only Africa but around the world, where they have a lack of electricity, full power running at all times. You have a lot of outages. So I would say, what are they going to do in regards to, because that's part of security, right? And when I say that, you kind of spoke on it, but let's just say if you're in the market, if you're dealing in the market online and you're doing bids, if you're bidding for something and your internet is down or slow, right? Does this, which I know obviously that it would deprive you of being able to be ahead or just right aligned with anybody else. So that's specific to markets, right? So if a lot of people are doing stocks and stuff like that online. They're no longer going to Wall Street specifically and going down to their computers and using their system. So a lot of people are doing marketing on their phones, their computers. And so what I'm saying is, what are they doing to address that issue as far as when you're dealing with places that have lack of electricity or power, as you said, whether it be the speed of the internet when you're trying to do business online, and it's required that you have up to the minute a connection or up to the second connection, because people are in real time making transactions, and just a couple of seconds or a minute of your lag of computer a transaction, again, and specific to finance, what is to be done? That's number 1. Part 2 would be the security aspect of what are they doing to universally. Are we talking about when we're dealing with when everything goes digital? Is everybody going to acknowledge the funds, this Bitcoin or whatever digital currency and cryptocurrency? We're going to all acknowledge it as one price, or we're going to still play the prices of the country's worth of the dollar, or does that go away when everything goes full digital? I know that now there's still a back and forth, depending on what territories you are. Here in the U.S., you also got to pay taxes on transactions and things of that nature. But I'm asking you, what happens when it goes full digitally? So if I'm making a transaction in Russia, or I say Russia, but any other part of the world, right? Does that mean, and that's a good example, Russia, is it the same as here? If I'm purchasing something, or if we're doing a trade, and it's still the same worth, when we're dealing with cryptocurrency, or am I going to pay more because I'm in America, or because there's a political issue where now there's charging? How does that work? Thank you, brother.
So,
Damn, that's a lot. Go ahead, Linell.
Okay, I got it. To answer your first question, I'm going to throw out one assumption, and then then everything I say after that won't be an assumption. But the assumption is, I'm guessing government or private sector are going to design something that will help or carry the load of, and this is just not Nigeria. It could be this one. What the assumption I'm saying can be applied to any country.
Right.
Right. Exactly. To say, hey, the sheer load of the number of people now using that country's currency network, because before it was just cash. A lot of people can use cash at the same time. It's not on one network, but now that a country is going digital, they're consolidating all of those millions of transactions per second, per minute, per hour, millions upon millions upon millions of transactions onto one network. That is an intense load. So now a country, it's not enough for a country to say, hey, we're going digital. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Well, in order to go digital, you need to have a safe, secure, well-run network that can handle the load. And the load is dictated by the number of people in your country and the number and the amount of that. Not only the amount of people in your country that are making transactions every second, but when countries want to purchase your currency or sell your currency, the amount that they want to sell or purchase. So a country that wants to go digital have to make sure that network, that one singular network, can handle that. So with the security, I'll say this, and that's in with the speculation. That's in with that one speculation. With the security, when the internet was made, the internet wasn't made with security in mind. Security came as an afterthought. But as time went on, internet security has gotten better, both compared to it was before. And as it continues to go on, it'll get better. You can buy McAfee or you can buy ESET, different security software programs that will help protect you online. And also it's up to personal discretion. So what I'm saying is, when a country says they're going to go digital, they have to have that security in mind, because now when something is digital, it makes it that much easier for a person's money to be stolen. We already know about identity, but a person's money to be stolen. So when a country says, hey, we're going to go digital, there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into place to carry that load, to carry, let's say, America. I think the digital network that's going to carry America's CBDC is called FedNow. I believe that's the network. That FedNow network they have to make sure that network can carry the sheer load of the largest economy in the world, the people that live in the largest economy in the world, making transactions over and over and over and over again every second, and countries wanting to buy in and out of the American dollar. So when a country like Nigeria, let me not point out Nigeria in this case, when a country that's not America, that's not a country that's perceived to have better than standard technical know-how, You know, when a country like that says, "Hey, we're going to go digital," you can to me, I can almost say, "Hey, they're just pushing a red button and say, hey, we're hip too. We're going to go digital." Well, time will tell if they're ready to go digital. I haven't heard anything saying, the Fed now or the American CBDC is going to have this type of security or that type of security. I haven't heard anything because the noise of central bank digital currencies is drowning out everything. So I don't know about the security, or even if the power goes out. That sucks because, like I mentioned before, essentially your economy stops because you're on a digital economy. A country that has rolling power outages cannot just go full digital. They'll be hurting their economy. And to answer your second question, you mentioned, how will that work out throughout the world? Only thing you're just doing is just taking what's already operating, just going digital. You're going to have the forex exchange rates. America, the dollar versus the euro. That if you go.
So that's not going nowhere.
No, that's not going nowhere. Only thing you're doing is just going digital. That's all.
Right.
Let me explain like this. Let me play devil's advocate in order to explain your question, answer your question. From an American point of view, hey, yeah, I want to go digital because all those black market transactions that we don't get revenue from, tax revenue from, now we're going to be able to get tax revenue from them because they're not going to be able to perform. Well, it's going to be less likely for them to perform their black market under the table, paying somebody to laying down concrete. I just pay them, X amount of dollars. It's going to be less likely to do that because they're going to have to pay them via our digital FedNow network, like with Cash App. If you send someone more than $500 or $600, you have to report that on your taxes. So now those people that get money through whatever means without having to report it, now we're going to see that. So now our tax coffers are going to explode. So yes, I want people, and I'm playing devil advocate here, to reiterate, yes, as the government, I want people to go cashless because now we can receive more income, more tax income. So with the digital version of going to a country to buy stuff, it's the same thing as you're doing now. It's just digital. I would perceive that it'll be a more quicker transaction. And so that the forex exchange is still going to be there.
All right. Thank you for the answers and the information, and being a guest on the show and providing this. It's very important, talking about finance. So thanks again, and thanks,
No
Gary.
problem.
Keep doing your thing, brother.
Thank you, Jay Watson. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, guys? Call up now. 717-908-1834. Access code 917324#. Today's subject, Chaos represents Cashless Society. Are you ready? I'm gonna read your comment in a second, ABC. Before then, it's good when you mentioned about Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, etc. I remember when they put it in law federally back in the end, I think around December 2021. If you go over, I think it's like $600 on a digital payment from Cash App, PayPal, or etc., that it will send an alert that you have to report that, or you have to ask where the money comes from.
Right.
Is that in actually one full transaction, or that's something that accumulates over time?
Cumulative.
I'm not sure if anybody just giving people $600 automatically on a Cash App. Last my check, for the last 2 years.
Yeah, if someone receives more than that threshold, then they're obligated to report that to the IRS. It's a cumulative total.
So is somebody getting like $5 once every week or whatever, and then it does accumulate that in like, let's say 2 years or whatever, I don't know how much, that'll report that if it
No,
gets that?
within one
No,
calendar year, if you receive above that threshold, $500 or $600, within one calendar year, if you receive above that threshold, then you have to report it. And obviously, within the next calendar year, that reset. And
Okay.
if you, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because you tell some of your family members and that about that, and and it's a good thing I'm very active on social media, because personally they don't understand how serious this has become now. Now I know the government's not going to clamp down now. I think next year they will start clamp down even more hard on it, from what I'm hearing now, on those digital transactions. You get me? That people's not aware of.
Yeah.
That you can't just get any money if you need some emergency and someone's forwarding you 300, 400, like one time. The next week they can't be. It's like this. You can't be getting that and knowing if it was something beyond that, you have to report that. You get me?
Right.
But you see, you can't tell certain people a certain age because they don't see the severe importance. You get me?
Because Cash App is an easy way for people to ask for money. Cash App has replaced, hey, you got $5 I can borrow, and somebody physically gives you $5. Cash App has replaced that, much like the cellular phone has replaced a person's wallet, a person's black book, a person's mirror, a person's physical calculator in their pocket or purse. The Cash App has replaced someone asking you for a physical $5. Now, hey, can you Cash App me this? Can you Cash App me that? And if a person does that, and the cumulative total of what they receive within one calendar year exceeds that threshold, whatever that threshold is, I don't know if it's $500 or $600. If it exceeds
it says $600. It's $600.
Yeah. Let's say $600. If that asking, cumulative asking and receiving has exceeded that $600 threshold, well, they got to pay taxes on that asking and receiving money. Technically, they have to.
Technically, yeah. I know, yeah. Technically, you have to, because eventually, after a couple years, I think they'll audit some things that you're not keeping up, And I'm not sure what is the percentage of the taxes now. I think it's only follow the federal tax now. Isn't it like up to, was it like, I forgot, it was 27% now?
No, I will say if a person receives, and don't quote me on this, I'm not a tax professional, but if a person receives less than, I think the number is $10,000. If they receive less than $10,000 a year, then they don't pay taxes on that. But if it's more than that, if they receive more than $10,000 a year, then they got to start paying taxes on that money they receive.
Yep, that's accurate. I remember Uncle D talked about on his live stream. Yep, that's accurate. It's good for you to mention that. So if y'all guys hear that, might go back to the playback. And for a side note, this is not financial advice. This is all for information use. Keep in mind. Always, you do your research, or you go to your own, what they call your CPA, if you have one, if you go forward, or you just go and, do some research. Simple as that. All right? Just a disclaimer. Now, let me read it in the chat room. ABC asks, did y'all talk about the banks being able to limit how much you can withdraw per day? I don't know nothing about that. Are you talking about if it was a cashless society, ABC? Can you elaborate? I don't know if you want to answer the question.
The banks, even now, they limit how much you can draw per day. And to me personally, I contribute that because first, banks had to have a certain amount of reserves on hand in their banks. Now they don't have to have. They can have little to no reserves on hand to cover what people deposit into their banks. So now, I don't know how long this has. There's always been a limit to how much you can withdraw, I believe, but in more recent modern times, there really has been a limit to what you can withdraw at one point in time from a bank, uh, uh,
Hmm.
a bank branch. I will say that. So now, obviously, if you got like a Bank of America, you go to 3 different Bank of Americas, you can withdraw more and more money because different branches. But there's more modern times. There's always been a limit to how much you can withdraw at each bank branch, and I attribute that to the lower and lower reserves that a bank needs to have on hand, because they don't want to trigger a bank run, because I don't think it takes someone popular saying, "Hey, I tried to uh, uh, take out $2 million, and the clerk said that they didn't have it." They they don't want that incident to run on banks, and also want to be nosy. Well, what you use this money for? What's going on here? Hey, it's my money, yeah, but it's our bank. Nosy banks. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I don't think of myself to have more than one account, but like I said, if I'm going to have more accounts, it has to be useful for more important means. Not saying people should have more bank account or credit card, but you always got to know if you're going to create more accounts, you're going to have to really be smart in how you're going to maneuver. You get me?
well,
Especially if the
if you got more
structure.
than
Good,
if,
good. Mhm.
if you got more than $250,000, you better have more than one account, because anything
Yep.
after that, especially after these few banks failed, the likelihood of the FDIC bailing out regular everyday people who have more than 250 in their account, that's going to shrink significantly in the future.
Mhm. 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 Oh, it's good for you mentioned this question. The banks that's now failing now, is this a result of earlier in this conversation in regards to the credit? Is that the reason why banks are
The
starting to collapse now? Is it dealing with credit?
it's dealing with with Silvergate Bank and with what's the other bank? I I know with no, not Silvergate, but Silicon Valley Bank. I know with them, a big part was because of what they did with their money. So the earlier I mentioned ZIRP, zero interest rate protocol, not protocol, zero interest rate policy. When banks have a lot of money on their books, one of the things that they can do with their money is to get loan bonds. So you got treasury bills, you got treasury notes, and you have treasury bonds. The difference between those three is time. With treasury bills go from 1 month to 1 year. That's how long they last. Treasury notes go from a year to, I want to say, 10 years. Treasury bonds expand from 10 years to 30 years. So with Silver SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, one of the things that they did with their bonds was they bought long-term government bonds. One thing they did with their money was they bought long-term government bonds. And this was before the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, and the Federal Reserve started raising rates, which was last year, March. They didn't believe that Jerome Powell would raise rates for a very long time because, like I mentioned, from 1981 to 2020, 39 years, interest rates have been falling for 39 years. So what's the likelihood of, and it was at zero interest rate policy for a while. So what's the likelihood of the Federal Reserve just significantly raising rates? But the Federal Reserve did. So what happens is when yields go up, the value of bonds go down. Just think of a seesaw. When yields go up, bonds go down. When yields go down, bonds go up. It's literally like they're literally inverse of each other. The reason for that is, hey, Silicon Valley Bank, you bought this 30-year government bond when rates were 0.03. Now rates are, I'm just throwing out a number here, 2%. Rates are 5% now, but rates are, let's say rates were 2% and SVB is trying to sell that bond. Well, I'm going to say, well, the yield on that bond that you bought SVB is 0.03, meaning twice a year for the next 30 years, the interest the government will pay you is a 0.03% interest, where I can buy a bond today, well, not specifically today, and, well, yeah, I'll use today. I can buy a bond today, and the government will pay me twice a year over the next 30 years, 5.25, 5.5%. What's the purpose of, why would I buy your bond, SVB? If you want me to buy your bond, you have to decrease the value of the bond, meaning I'm going to give you less money than what you bought that for. And so with Silicon Valley Bank, they tailored to more tech companies. And when tech needs, something else happened in the economy where tech companies started to take out more and more money, thereby decreasing the amount of money that they had on their books. So with bonds, there's something called mark-to-market. They don't have to mark-to-market. What mark-to-market means is this. Even though we're losing money on our bonds because we bought them when yields were at 0.03 and now yields are 5.5%, we don't have to report that amount of loss on our books. Well, what happened was people started to look at SVB books and said, hey, the bonds that they bought has lost a lot of money. And since they lost a lot of money, SVB don't got a lot of money on the books, even if they sold those bonds to cover the amount of money that's being taken out of their bank. So all of a sudden, somebody tweeted that, some financial / or tech company, I don't know who tweeted it, and it caught wind, it caught fire. And people started to take their money out, thereby compounding the situation. Now SVB really ain't got money to pay back these people. So the rules of the bank run is this. The first person at the teller, they get their money, they safe. The last person at the teller get their money, they up a hill without a paddle. They up a creek without a paddle. That's the rules of the bank run. So that's one of the major things that happened with SVB Bank and these other few banks that collapsed.
Wow, man. I'm reading your comments a second, Mo. So that's what happened. Man, I project before the summertime, a lot more banks are going to fail to come.
Right, and little known fact,
go ahead.
The banks that failed already, 3 of the 4 largest banks, 3 of the 4 largest bank failures in America happened within the last 2 months. And the money that was lost because these banks failed has already been more than what was lost in 2008.
Devastating. That's devastating. That's very devastating. Wow. Yeah. I was surprised that what's his name? That banker. I'm trying to remember his name. Shit, it slipped my mind. What's his name? Oh damn! Now it slipped my mind. I don't know. Is that no bank that people know, well known, that always they talk about?
Chase
He's a Jewish
Bank,
banker.
Bank of America, Citibank. What's that?
No, that guy, that famous banker that deals with stocks to bank.
Oh, you talking about Jimmy
Schwab?
Dimon?
Not Jim. Now, what's his name? What's his name?
Or Schwab? Or something?
Not Schwab. It's the other guy. The guy that gave loan to black women in regards to starting business.
Yeah. I think that's J.B. Morgan Chase, Jimmy Dimon.
Is it Morgan Chase?
I believe, or either that or Goldman Sachs, one of those.
Goldman Sachs. I'm surprised Goldman Sachs hasn't failed yet, his banking system.
Goldman Sachs is not a bank. Goldman
He's not a
Sachs
bank?
is no, they're not a well. To be honest, Goldman Sachs do a few things. You got levels of banking. You got major banks like J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan Chase ain't handing out personal loans to everyday people. J.P. Morgan Chase caters to companies. Then you got regional banks. So you got national banks like J.P. Morgan Chase, Citi. Those are that ilk. You got regional banks like what's the bank there? Western Alliance Bank that failed. You got regional. You got PacWest Bank Corp. You can look these banks. If you type one in your Google machine, others will pop up. You got regional banks. Then you got community banks. The community banks are who people go to more than likely to get loans, to get personal loans and this and that. So there's levels of banking. And Goldman Sachs, they are, I gotta look what they are, but they're more of, actually they are a bank because they got their Marcus account. It's a high yield account. They got that, and they also have other, like an investment arm. So they got their hands in different things. So they're not strictly just a bank.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that came to my mind, but I always hear they talk about Goldman Sachs like he's like a very much heavily investor. I thought usually is he dabbles between banking and insurance. That's what comes to mind because from the loan this amount of money, it's like he must have something that he's doing that accumulate a lot of this to be given out, and investing very well, But anyway, that's just my opinion. Let me look at Monica Lamb's or Mrs. Lamb's comments. She writes, let me see, report that's been around the world like the, no, that's wrong. I don't know. She writes, if you have more than 250 grand, you need more than one bank. Yes, that's the line I said earlier. FDIC, do not insure after that amount. No. Fed, no, right. Now, go ahead. So you're saying, all right.
And
Fed now.
FDIC,
Oh,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
FDIC,
go ahead.
The FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, they don't have enough money to cover. They got like a couple $100 billion, and the amount of money that the banks deposited is in $1 trillion. So they don't have enough money to cover everybody, period. And two, with the FDIC insurance tag, they say anything over $250,000. $250,000 is cumulative within whatever bank that you have. So let's say your community bank that's under the FDIC insurance corporation. Just because you have a checking, a savings, a money market, you got this and you got these different type of accounts with that bank. All of them added up. If they are over 250, then any extra after 250 is technically not insured. Now, if you're married, then you're insured up to $500,000. But if you just a single person, they got a bank with Bank of America, and you got all these accounts with under Bank of America. You got money in here, you got money over there. You take all that total, and it's over 250. You're not insured by however much money that's over the 250. You only insured up to 250. So let's say I'm gonna take it to the extreme here. Let's say a person got 750 in their account at Bank of America, and let's say Bank of America goes. I'm not saying Bank of America goes down. I'm only using Bank of America because people know the name of Bank of America. Let's say Bank of America goes down, and the FDIC said, well, you know what? We got enough money to insure everybody up to 250. But here you got 750. Well, you just lost $500,000.
Oh, wow. And you know, it's funny. I remember there was a video circling when people were trying to know what's going on with their money, and noticed the bank took their money, and a lot of people were in the line. They were shocked and surprised. I mean, I ain't, but you know, like I said, if you don't know how banking system works, I mean, if you put all your ducks in one basket, I mean, don't be surprised the basket has been miraculously disappeared. Let's keep reading. Let me see what else. The Fed is holding out in July for payments. Okay. Those banks failed because they had more assets over, I believe he's writing, I think this is in the millions, Mo. 200, no, actually, I think it's 250,000. Come wrong. That were not insured. Diversify your money, cash, stocks, bonds, real estate. Series of savings bonds is 30%, and this includes a fixed rate of 0.90% for a bond issued May 1st, 2023 and October 31st, 2023. I think I read that right. And Monica, and then ABC writes, Monica, do you have concerns about cashless society? And then Monica is responding, JP Morgan Chase took them over and gave the account holders their assets, which I didn't know. No change is bound to happen. And she continues, writes, you don't have to read my comments. Yeah. I'm reading them now because it's a show. The Tucker, wait, what he said? ABC writes, the truckers in Canada didn't have millions. I think that's what he wrote. Then Monica writes, global financial institutions that deliver a broad range of financial service to a large and diversified client base that includes corporations, financial institutions, governments, and individuals. She continues to write, I have several banks. Monica got that money. She got that money. Well, she got business, so. You know. She writes, exactly. 3 different banks if you have 750,000. Bank of America has closed some of my friends' accounts. Not surprised. I said Fed now. It is a program. I think it's all in capital letters. FED now. The Fed now service will help enable financial institutions to deliver end-to-end faster payments service to their customers. Okay. Well, I noticed that when they start to put more, to send more and hire more people that do taxes on a lot of people, because they're really watching where the money is being circulating out, since people are already doing things through digital transactions, which, you know, has been going on for almost a year, you know.
Yeah, it's easily tracked.
Yeah. Even to the point where I remember one time a lot of people were scamming with PPP loans and all this, and I'm saying, what the hell? How do you scam a PPP loan? You just took the money and pocketed it? I mean, I don't understand people not.
A lot.
And that was during the lockdown back in I think 2020, 2021 at least that year. And I'm thinking you can't be that dumb. So no, go ahead. You about to say that?
No, I was saying, yeah.
Can't be that dumb. You cannot be that dumb to do something like that. But people feel that if they give money, it's like free money. I don't think it's free money. I mean, they gotta know what you're gonna do to pay them back. Because the one thing with loans nowadays, and it kills me, Lionel, that if they're very much cautious of how they give people money. I would say if you're a person and you can't pay your way for, let's say, college, if you had to go to university, right, to get a 4-year degree, right, and you're able to qualify for a loan for that, it makes me think, personally, that if they can give you a loan for that, but they won't give you a loan to start business, what that tells you, and even to the point with the student loan, or the giving loans, that you have to pay back because they put things in law to say that you cannot default on it. So that's why I feel they're more comfortable giving people loans because they know that people are going to work until they're always going to work to pay off a loan with the interest.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're a person. And go ahead. I'm going to let you talk. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Including where the people and mind you, out of all debts, regular debts, student loan debt is, I would say, either third or fourth in the lineup of the highest that adds on to the national debt in America. I think we're now over $2 billion in student loan debt now. No, not $2 billion. It's $2 trillion.
No,
actually, it's $2 trillion. It's $2 trillion. It's $2 trillion. My fault.
Yeah, with student loan debt, it doesn't go anywhere, and that's that hangs around the neck of the people of America. With America, some of our biggest bills is Medicare, Medicaid, military, and the interest on the debt. That's where the most of the money, America, the government goes to. But as far as student loan, that's one of the largest bills that the average American has.
Interesting. I did not know that. I covered this on this channel for years now. One with Dr. Black. I've covered solely on my own channel. And I'm not telling people should go to school. But if you didn't get a free ride to college, you better know if you're going to get any debt, especially student loan, it better be something that whatever you make out of that degree you make, it better be that you make the income enough to slowly start pay out your debt. I mean, on the average, if you're a person in your 20s and you got like a degree and stuff, you want to be able to clear any, especially student loan debt, before you turn 30 at best. You don't want to be on that for longer than you have to because, let's be honest, people got to move on with life. They're going to make more money, and you don't want nothing like that lingering. And that's one of the few things that people are not aware because people feel said, it's a loan, is nothing, I have to worry about it. No, you have to worry about it now because the government, in due time, is going to make you find ways to pay back that debt. If they got to lock you up, they will do so. They're not playing no more.
They can be part of the social credit score.
Yeah. Oh, Monica writes, fabricating the documents. That's what. Yeah, that's the PPP loans. Military pays my student loan. Yeah, I mean that's another thing. If you can go to the military, do 4 more years, that would help. But let's be honest, most people, especially men or women, depending on their backgrounds, I'm not gonna really go boot up to serve in the military or any form of armed service just to pay off student loans on the average because they get this notion that they're gonna go out there and get deleted, and that's not really the case. You can't tell people nothing nowadays. And she writes zero balance, and she's clapping and cheering. All right, so I guess you guys have got no questions. I'm probably gonna ask 1 or 2 questions and then call this a day. In regards, what's your views in regards to, let's say, the society structure into, let's say, cashless? For those that save money now, what one will do if, let's say, if it's more digital? How would that work for people that is trying to build up and save money, or knowing that everything now is monitored and goes straight to the, what they call the CDC, something? Get me?
Well, I mean, you still gonna have your bank account. Things should still function the same way. Like I said, with the digital currency, the much of, if not all, of the backlash is coming from because it's a digital currency coming from the government, not because it's a digital currency itself. So, people still going to have their savings account, their money market, their savings, their checkings. People still going to have that. You're going to still spend it the same. Like right now, you spend it like people pay for a haircut with Cash App. That's the digital form of payment. You're not exchanging nothing physical from your hand to your barber's hand. So it's still going to function the same way. It's just in digital form.
Okay. Another rumor mill that was been put out here, and I'm not sure how you can answer this. I heard rumor mill that said that there, like how certain things have expiry dates. Some people say, well, if they go strictly digital, will there be a so-called expiry dates in regards to if they get like special cards or any form of currency that if they don't use it, it'll be gone? Have you heard about this rumor?
I haven't heard of the what, use it and forget, use it or lose it. I haven't heard that.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's why I'm just throwing out too, because I've been hearing about that, and I always question where people get this information, because let's say if things digital, it's another form of currency. It's not gonna have no expiration date. Last time I checked, so I'm not sure why people have the notion that things are gonna expire. I mean, I don't know where people get this information from. They gotta verify, but I'm just throwing this to you because I'm hearing this, and my thing is this. It's better to be proactive than reactive at the end of the day. So, just throwing these questions out now.
Yeah,
all right.
Like I said, I said before, people are hearing about this, and they're hearing about it from a lot of people at the same time. So you're getting both good information and bad information. It's tantamount to when the internet first came out. They were saying, "Oh, this is bad because child pornography and criminals are going to use it." Well, if we listen to that, we wouldn't have the type of internet that we have today. So you listen to the good and the bad at the same time, and it's difficult for people to just parse through it, because a lot of it is people expressing their own fears of something, and they're expounding their own fears, and people are listening to it, and it can make sense, but that doesn't mean it's factual.
Indeed, and like I said, I get in regards to hearing this information that could be a sense of fear, but like I said, I sit back and wait. I don't just sit there and conclude anything regardless where the information comes from. I tell people to keep an open mind. Do not always rule out or say that this is what things are going to happen, where it's going. Always got to sit back and pay attention to every little detail, even people that mention these type of things to you, or it's put out here and it's being circulating viral, because it's trying to draw not only attention but a reaction. And we all know reaction sells, just like attention, which I think is one and the same. And if they get people eyeballs to start commenting, liking, or looking at it, they have done their job. Yeah. But yeah. So now, to wrap up, in regards to the solution parts, what guides or steps you would, I guess, would give any man and woman, I would say that's adult age, in regards to how they should operate, just in case if the economy moves into this type of structure. And you can also apply cryptocurrency as well. Whatever suggestion you want to give, the floor is yours right now.
Well, it depends. It depends how if it's just a digital currency on a digital network, then without nothing else, how much different that is to now. People go and pay for their Arizona iced tea with their debit card. That's about $1.20, $1.50, depending on where you at. That's that's a digital. It's a digital payment. You didn't, you know, you didn't pull out no sawbuck to pay for that and get physical coins and paper back. You know, you paid it with your debit card or your credit card and kept it moving. If it's just when a CBDC rolls out and it's just a more and it's a less physical cash society. Let's say the government say, well, you know, this is the program we've been telling y'all about. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the paper cash and the coins in the society, and y'all just going to use this. Well, that's not much different than what is going on now. You know, people may have that same $20 in their pocket from last year, 4th of July. You know, it's just been in their wallet for a while, just in case. But if it rolls out and they say, well, this is going to allow us to catch those that be getting paid under the table and catch the black market stuff, not to stop it, but to receive tax revenue from that, you know, or we're going to program the money for this or that, then yes, people have a point to get angry, or people have a right to say, oh no, this don't sound good. They use this digital currency for more nefarious means. You know, it depends on how it's rolled out. If they roll it out, like I said, for more nefarious means, then yes, let the conversation continue. But if they roll it out and they say, well, just use this, we want to cut back on this physical cash and then kind of but just use this, and it's nothing more than that, then I don't see how different that is from what we're already doing now.
And one other thing, that another thing that came to mind, I have not really checked my Coinbase app. I wonder how much a jump in the cryptocurrency has jumped since certain moves, regardless of failure of banks or any action that's taken outside. That has the numbers have risen lately. Like, it's like Bitcoin, like, is slowly stagnant, but usually when one little catastrophe happens, the value of those digital currencies start going up. Have you noticed it lately?
Bitcoin has been trading within a range, I'm going to say between $25,000 and $30,000 for a couple months now. So it's been in a sideways range for a while now.
Okay. Yeah, I expect some of these coins to start jump up again very soon. I would say if not in the summertime, it should start just tinkle a little bit. I feel it's gonna start twinkling. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but like I said, I'm just a spectator. I'm watching them slowly, learning, and eventually have to throw money into these things. You know how it is right now. But I think that's pretty much it. No one else has their questions. And the chat room is full like always. So this was a pretty well informed stream. Anywhere people could find you, any social media links you want to lay out for the people?
I have no social media links. I just you can find me on YouTube in the chat under Jody James. That's my name, Jody James. If y'all on a live and catch me in the chat room, yeah.
One other thing. Is anybody could send me, if you have another YouTube channel, through the Discord? Because, like I say, sometimes you might be active or something happens, so I'm not really following. If you have, you go ahead.
I don't have no YouTube, no Twitter, no nothing. I just be around in the YouTube streets.
Well, I will say this, and you don't have to take this as an option. You would do very well in Rumble, because right now Rumble is starting to pick up steam. Another
What is Rumble?
Rumble is like YouTube, but more uncensored, and they do pay people on Rumble because they're in the stock exchange now. So I'll do this. I will send you a link to my Rumble. If you want to follow me on Rumble, that'd be good, and it'll probably give you more clarity what Rumble is. Is that good? Because I'm telling you this because how YouTube is going right now, I can see why they will try to censor you in a way because let's be honest, YouTube has the eyeballs because it's like TV. And let's say you put out certain content and it's getting the right eyeballs, it's going to get people thinking. And when people thinking, the advertiser's not going to make no money. You get me? That's why they'll put censors on a lot of people with all the regulations and all that stuff. Personally, in my opinion. So don't worry. I'll send you my Rumble for you to follow me, and once you follow me, you'll get access to all the other people that's put on Rumble. I would highly advise whatever you're doing, go on Rumble. You should be good for now. You get me?
Okay.
Because I'm telling you right now, because we're going to be in soon an election cycle, I would expect Rumble to start pick up more steam because a lot of people that's talking about what's really going on, they can't put it on YouTube. But they can sure put it on Rumble, because Rumble is that other avenue that people are watching. Regardless, people said they're not paying attention, they might start paying attention now, because if you get information on YouTube, you're gonna get very limited now. Because YouTube now is more focused on short content and more foolishness. When I mean short content, they're following TikTok in regards to those YouTube shorts. So they're trying to keep up with other applications. But Rumble, they don't worry about it. They'll put regular content like YouTube has once did. You get me? So I'll share that to you on Discord so you could. And if you do create Rumble, just don't be hesitant just to share it with me if you have Rumble doing videos on Rumble. I will follow you on Rumble because I'm watching things on Rumble. Okay. I'll tell you who's on Rumble. That Rogerson dude and some other people that's dealing with political things. They're on Rumble and they got subscribers up to 100K thousands. Yeah. And trust me, there's no what they call that stupid flagging stuff. Last time I checked. For now. And probably when they get the numbers up, it might, but it's going to take a few years. It's going to take years. Because right now, YouTube's the place to be right now. You get me? So, I got you. All right? But like I said, what you do important things, bro. And I don't mind you sit back and do your thing, but I say, a person of your knowledge and your research, it can't just be put under the rug. You get me? Always try to be somewhat involved because whatever information you have could help somebody. Trust me on this. That's why the Black Brain Trust is back on YouTube. You get me? And actually, they're on the right time to come back now. You get me? What they're doing right now, they're on the right time to come back now. So I would say whatever you're doing, I would advise you do the same too. If it's not on YouTube, Rumble will probably be your place. All right? All right. Thank you, Linell, for coming up. And if any other information, we'll do this again soon. This is our second show in the last while. So, anything else that comes to mind, I know who to find and talk to. Is that cool?
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, then. Take care, man, and we'll talk soon. All right, guys. That's the show. I'd like to thank everybody that was watching and listening to today's show. I wouldn't mind y'all guys leave some comments at the end of this broadcast. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I think Linell answered all the questions for all y'all. But anything, you can always go back to the replay of this. And please be a subscriber to the Chaos Rain Show. As you know, I'm back to how can you say interview form, as you know. So I might try to find some more guests, and we're gonna have some more conversations. Who knows? It's gonna get real interesting. All I gotta say. And that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching today's stream. And like always, please follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7. Add me a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. Join my Rumble page. Try and get a couple followers so I can go live and go real raw, uncut over on Rumble. You know it, man. And join my Discord service as well. Those are links. Those are where you can find me. That's it. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and good night.